very well.
Latest football news,
engaging debates,
and fascinating opinions.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome to Pitchside Talk, back on IO Radio for another week of football action at Fridays at 5 p.m. with your host always, George. I hope you're having a good week. I hope you had a good few weeks, because guess what? Football is fully back. The brand new league season is finally here, and we absolutely love it here on Pitchside Talk, because it's football everywhere you turn. It's just absolutely brilliant to watch. But as always, I better introduce my co-host as always for this week. It is our resident Ipswich Town fan who's loving life at the moment, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. It is Dan. Dan, how are you doing, mate?
I'm doing okay. I'm a bit dizzy from being at the top.
Oh God, he's giving it away so early.
Yeah. No, but I'm just delighted. But I shouldn't get too excited. Let's just say that.
You shouldn't get too excited. See, we should say you're on cloud 9, but it's actually technically cloud 10, isn't it? Actually,
yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
If you go by points, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. But before we even mention what's coming up on today's show, I better mention the social medias. As always, Twitter is at Pitchside Talk, Instagram is at Talk_Pitch, usually a mix of both at Pitchside Talk. And if you want to listen back to any pro shows, do not worry, they're all there on YouTube and Mixcloud. So what is coming up in today's show? Well, we've got an Ipswich Town double bill again, but this time is 2 league games. Yes, 2 league games in a row. What can you love? Home on a Saturday, away on a Tuesday night. Couldn't ask for any more. And also we'll be talking about the Premier League game week number 2 this week, which we have seen some very interesting results. And well, I think the Premier League is well and truly back with some rivalries as well. But when we come back, we'll be talking about Ipswich Town and what happened in the double bill in League One. Don't go anywhere. Stay up to date with the latest footy news. Pitchside Talk on IO Radio. Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio, Fridays at 5 p.m. for another week of football action with your host always, George, joined by my co-host as always, Dan, for this another week of football action. Now, before we move on talking about Ipswich Town and their League One double bill this week, I better mention the social medias. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk, Instagram is at Talk_Pitch, and YouTube Mixcloud both at Pitchside Talk. If you missed any of our pro shows, do not worry, they're all there on YouTube and Mixcloud. So last week we saw Ipswich Town take a trip to Gloucestershire to play Forest Green Rovers in their first ever meeting, and they got their first ever 3 points versus Forest Green Rovers, and the first one on the board for the league season in typical Ipswich Town style as well. And then a few days later they were at home in the cup, the Carabao Cup versus Colchester United, and you all know how that went down. Ipswich Town exited out to Colchester United, but they had to put that result behind them because another double bill was around the corner. It was looming around the corner, but this time it was in the league, a double bill with being at home on Saturday and then away on Tuesday night. But first was the home game, which was against MK Dons at home, who had a rocky start to the season after the great campaign last season. They had lost their first 2 league games in a row, sitting bottom of League One. But on Saturday, the Blues blew them away in a 3-0 win, thanks to goals from Burns, Harness, and Chaplin, earning the first win at home of the season. And an extra bonus for you, they went top of the table as well. And another bonus for you at the time, there was only one place, I know it's going to sound bad, Dan, there's only one place technically separating Ipswich Town and Norwich at the time. And we have to celebrate that fact because it was a good moment. I know that's not a thing at this current moment of time because Norwich have won. We won't be talking about it, but they've won now. So there's only now a few places separating them. But Dan, after last week's earning that first win of the season away from home, now they've got that first home win of the season. Ipswich Town just absolutely had too much for MK. They just demolished them, and McKenna's side surged up to the top of League One as well.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely fantastic performance. I think everything you could want in that game, really. Against the MK Dons side, who obviously haven't had a very good start. A lot of new players in that side, and system change as well. But I was quite surprised with how they played. I thought it was going to be a tighter game, but we were brilliant. I think from the off, we dominated possession, dominated the ball, had so much energy, and especially in that heat as well. Was it 33 degrees
Oh, 33,
at
yeah.
kickoff? And for all the players to run for 90 minutes in that heat, pretty much constantly, really, was very impressive. I think the fitness has been something that has really improved in the last few years. So yeah, fantastic. I thought Danassian was absolutely excellent. That's probably the best I've seen him play. And from a couple of years ago saying that we don't want him, I think he's been massive turnaround. I thought Chaplin had a fantastic game, and Burns. I think that whole right hand side. I think their left back, Dean Lewington, he's that veteran left back who's been there for a long time. He could not handle that right hand side with Burns, Chaplin, and Danassian down there. So yeah, it was fantastic, and the goals were great as well. Some good finishes. And obviously good for Burns and Chaplin to get off the mark for this season. Hopefully, many more. But yeah, I mean, we were on it for the whole 90 and thoroughly deserved the win. And to go top of the league, it's absolutely fantastic start. And I was delighted after the full-time whistle.
Yes, I think everybody was delighted. I can't think how many fans were there actually on.
It's about 23,000, I think.
Yeah, just over 23,000 fans there. I think absolutely were delighted. I forgot about that. Yeah, it was in the middle of the heat wave. The only reason I forgot about it was because I was in the nice shade, Dan.
Oh, lucky you!
I was in the nice shade. It was nice. There was a nice cold breeze that came around once in a while. I don't know about you. Where were you sitting? You weren't sitting in that blazing sun, were you? Like all those sold out area in Bobby Robson, were you?
I was, yeah. We had the sun on us for the first half. Luckily, we were in the shade for a little bit in the second, but yeah, it was quite warm. Let's say that behind the goal, in the sold out Bobby Robson stand.
Just a little bit toasty, a little bit red, a bit red.
Yeah,
a
little bit sunburnt.
A little bit sunburnt. Yeah, also not Wes Burns, but yeah, sunburnt.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, McKenna after the game said his players produced a special effort in the game versus MK Dons to head to the top of the table, but he insisted being top means absolutely nothing at this stage of the season. We have to remember we are still in August. I've hit the microphone. We have to remember we are still in August here. I completely forgot we are still in August. I thought it was in May. But as he added, obviously everybody that was here has really enjoyed us on the ball, our attacking play, and the amount of chances we created. But the clean sheet was one of the most enjoyable bits for me today. I'll probably take more from our defensive than our attacking. In that heat, I thought we were really special effort by these players. 3 points, no more than that. It is very early in the season and things went our way today. I thought we deserved that, but it doesn't mean anything for Tuesday night. Sorry, I can't speak for Tuesday night. We've got a completely different opposition, a completely different type of game, different type of challenges coming up, and our heads changed to that very quickly. Obviously, there isn't any that. Obviously, that isn't as any importance at this stage of the season. It is one game at a time. It is a long season, and all the cliches. I couldn't care less about where we are in the league, and I won't do it for quite a long time. It's all about performances. But Danny sums that perfectly again. You can't get ahead of yourself. I know it's August and fans will get ahead of ourselves, but we have to celebrate these kinds of moments when we're top of the league. Because I can't, not to be rude, when was the last time we were top of the league? If we can be honest,
it was a long time ago. Let's just say that.
It can't have been in the first season of League One. I don't think it was ever top in that first league. First season.
I think we were for a little bit. At the start of the season, yeah. Oh. We went on that run, didn't we, in the first season?
Oh,
we went,
that run, yeah.
I don't know how many games unbeaten. We went a lot unbeaten, and we all thought it was going to be an easy top of the league that season, but went downhill very quickly.
What was it, 100 points, 100 goals, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's not reflect on that. That's not good viewing. But yeah, it sounds like perfect. You can't get ahead of yourselves. We are getting ahead of ourselves. But his players produced that performance, and also as well something we haven't highlighted as well: the first clean sheet of the season. We know he's only conceded like 15 goals, something like that, since joining Ipswich Town. 28 league games, I think it's 15 goals conceded. That clean sheet is massive because Town have looked a little bit shaky at the back, I think we can say, in the first 2 league games of the season.
Yeah, a little bit, but I think our defence is one of our strongest points. I think the back, well, I think you'd say back four. You don't really include Burns in that. Including Walton as well, been excellent the last couple of, or last season and so far this season. A few mistakes here and there. This start of the season, a few little mistakes, but I think confidence will grow as time goes on this season, and I think we're looking really good defensively. It is still too early. I think you're right to get too overexcited. I know it's easy to do that as Ipswich fans, seeing us top of the league. It's very rare nowadays, so we like to get ahead of ourselves. But as McKenna says, and rightly so, it's way too early to be looking at the league table. And I'm pleased that he's not going to put that pressure on the players, because everything can change in football, and especially in a league like League One, it's very unexpected what can happen. So I don't think the players should be, or anyone really should be looking at the league table too closely, even though it is good viewing, because we've got a long way to go. It does feel different this year, I have to say. The times that we have been top of the league in League One, there was still that lingering thought that we probably aren't good enough to be here. But this time, it really does feel different. There's a confidence at the club. I think the players are together more than they have been since we've been in this league. So I'm really confident this season, and it just really does feel different with McKenna at the wheel. But yeah, I think he's right. You can't look at the league table this early on, but it's still looking good, isn't it?
Yes, it is looking very good. I will have to ask you, not on HMS Walk the League, are you?
Oh nah. Well, I do like to
is
see it on Twitter. It's quite good to see. It's quite funny, but it's never going to happen, is it? Unfortunately.
No, it never is, and we can't say the actual name of it because
Yeah.
we're not allowed to say it. But it's walk. It's walk. I think HMS Walk the League is actually much better, and it's actually a real name. But
Yeah.
we'll move on away from that. It's a brand new ship, so it sounds absolutely fine. But after the game on Saturday night, it was time for Tuesday night game away to Burton Albion, and after that great win on Saturday, it was time for that first Tuesday night away game of the season. It's ironic that we have to travel to Burton on a Tuesday night. Who did all this planning? EFL? You have some questions to answer to. But Town, they had to make the long trip up to Burton Albion, who have had a poor start to the season, only 1 point in their first 3 league games. And that came last time out, which ended in a 4-4 draw between them and Accrington Stanley. But we have to remember here, they were winning 3-0 inside the first 50 minutes, and they blew that. And it could have actually lost that game if you watch the highlights. Like I did. I watched the highlights. They could have actually lost that game, but I don't know how they scraped away with a point, or actually how they didn't get 3 points. That's a crazy result. But yeah, they were struggling. They were in the relegation zone. So for Town, a lot of fans thought, walk in the park. It could be a 5-0 win. It could be whatever. But on the night, Marcus Harness's goal was the difference as the Blues stood firm and under extreme pressure from Burton Albion, retaining their time at the top of League One for a little bit longer and making it 3 wins in a row. But Dan, that game was super intense. Both sides bombarding each keeper, plenty of chances, but Town had to answer a lot of different questions. As McKenna highlighted in his comments on Saturday, there would be different challenges, different questions to answer, and Town answered all of them with the correct answers, which we have to thank Christian Walton here for being in action and actually being awake at the back and saving our bacon many times. But it doesn't matter how you get 3 points. It doesn't matter if you get a 1-0 win, 10 men down, you have to go defensive for the rest of the game. As long as you get 3 points, you get 3 points. And this game highlighted that.
Yeah, absolutely, it did. I think it was a surprising game, really. I mean, I think we all went into the game confident that because of Burton's, they were leaking goals these first few games. I think we all thought we'd go into it and get an easy win. But obviously, we can't underestimate anyone in this league, and it definitely showed. I think first half was a tough one. We got away with a few, thanks to mainly Christian Walton, who was fantastic again. But you've got to, play against teams like that in this league. They're gonna hound you. They're gonna, put high balls into the box, balls over the top of you, and that's the thing I think is if Evans and Morsey aren't really in the game against a team who play it over the top. We can't really get the ball down and pass it around. The times that we did, we looked good. We looked tidy on the ball as always. I think Luco on the ball was brilliant again, and sprayed the ball out. I think Jackson played on the right. He was running his head off again. But yeah, that first half was tough, but second half was much better. And there was chances either end, of course, as you say, but we managed to take ours. A brilliant finish from Harness again. And as you say, it doesn't matter how we win. If a win is a win, and it might have been tough, but to come home with a 1-0 and another clean sheet, and a win to keep us top, you cannot complain at all with that. So it is these games that win you the league, isn't it? If you can get through these, then you could. That's how you win this league. And if this game was last season under Paul Cook, as we saw, we probably would have won it like we did at Burton last season. We lost 2-1 in the end. So yeah, I'm delighted with the win, even though it was a tough game and an entertaining one. But we'll definitely take it.
Yes, you would definitely take it. As you highlighted there, Dan, that's absolutely true, because last season we lost this game 2-1, and we probably would have lost this game 2-1 again. So it just highlights how far the side has absolutely come under Kieran McKenna. And well, he was absolutely delighted after the game as his side emerged from a very chaos game, a very chaotic game, which saw all 3 points go back to Suffolk. He said it was a really good result, a very different type of game. I think Burton are going to do well. They're going to take a lot of points off team with their aggressive and directness when they play, especially on Tuesday nights. But can they do it? I think we have to quickly ask, can they do it on a cold wind Tuesday night at Stoke with that thrown in long balls? Can they do that? Probably not. But the first half was chaos. We didn't manage to get any structure or order to the game. We had to show spirit, dig in, and manage to keep it out of our net. In the second half, I thought our performance went up a gear. We were good at value for the goal, and even though we really needed some good saves from Christian Walton, I thought it was a really hard win, and we deserved 3 points. Dan, he's absolutely delighted we've got 3 points, but it's the way that Town got the 3 points. A lot of people, like we said beforehand, expected Town to absolutely walk this game. Burton's record of leaking goals left, right, and centre, that blowing that 3-0 lead at Accrington, it was the polar opposite. Town had to be the game, had to sort of manage the game, handle it, and they handled it perfectly, because as soon as you said last season, they would have lost this. There's no being around the bush here. They would have absolutely lost this game here. And that just highlights how far they have come. But it shows as well, like we said, they can't always play guns blazing. Sometimes they're going to have to play like this. And these games here, like we said, in the long run, will be important when you're trying to fight for the league, for trying to get up through the automatics or get into the playoffs.
Yeah, they're going to be massively important, and there's going to be more games like this this season. There's so many teams in this league that play like that, and that's just what League One is like. I don't think you can really complain about that. That's just how teams play in this league, and you've got to be able to play against that. And that's, I think, one of the weaknesses we've had in this league is when we come up against a team who crowd us in and sit back. We can't really get through them. They come and play for a draw, and time waits for a draw, and that works for them. And that's fair enough. So we need to be able to play against that. And I think Kieran McKenna has worked on that. And this game definitely shows that, because that's how Burton played there. I was surprised with how many chances they had, to be honest. With how many, actually, they did score 4 at the weekend, didn't they? I think one of their players got a hat trick, so maybe it's not that surprising. But I think coming into the game, I was definitely on that side of this is going to be a comfortable win. But I think now, after what I've seen, I don't think we're going to really have games like against those teams that are going to be. They're all going to be tough. So yeah, you need to get through them to go up in this league, and I think this game here shows that we can do that, and that's going to bring confidence into these players that we can ground out these wins against these clubs. And I think second half we played our football. I still think we played the system that we want to play. The passing football and playing out from the back. There was a few missed passes, and Walton saved us, as I say, and but we got through it, and that's the most important thing. And if we can do that in every game against a team like Burton, then we're going to be up there. That's for sure. Yes,
we are going to be up there for sure. Well, from the game, there are 2 players who seriously impressed. And before we get on to the main one, we'll talk about him a little bit later on. We'll talk about firstly Marcus Harness, who has now made it 3 goals in his last 3 games, and this one here was the winning moment for Town. His long-range shot left the goalkeeper absolutely rooted. Don't know why he didn't dive for that. He sort of did a Thomas Holy, really, just stood there, watched the ball go in the back of the net. But we'll absolutely take that, and we saw a very good knee side from Marcus Harness. He didn't muck that up. I had to say 10 out of 10 for execution and perfection there by Marcus Harness on the knee side. But Dan, when we signed Marcus Harness from Pompey, I think we all knew that Town had made a very good signing here, especially with Piggott going the other way. But after we saw that struggling performance against Bolton, I think a few of us thought, really, is he actually as good as people say? Is he worth the money was spent on him? Why are we not chasing Selena? He's not very good. That's what probably people did say at the time. But since that, he's come on leaps and bounds since that first goal against Forest Green Rovers. He's looked instrumental in this Town side. He's looked important and an absolute improvement, helping a lot with Wes Burns on that left-hand side, providing that sort of that other option. But last season, he got 12 goals and 6 assists for Pompey. But in this system, which seems to suit him down to a T, those numbers there are going to be smashed out of the park already, aren't they?
I mean, you hope so. And you think, who needs Selena with the way he's playing at the moment? I think he's turning out to be a fantastic signing. And I think that's the thing. I think with Pompey, he was a fantastic player. I think from seeing what Pompey fans are saying, when we signed him, they say that he's a very on and off player. If he's not in the game, then that's it. He doesn't really contribute to it. But I think he's playing a different system here, and it definitely suits him. He's had a fantastic start. As you say, I think the Bolton game, he wasn't really in it, was he? I don't think he did anything wrong. It was just kind of the ball was just evading him, really. But he's definitely come and leaps and bounds in these last few games, and to see him scoring goals is a massive positive. So let's hope it continues, because he looks like a really tidy player. He can find the goal, can't he? He's had 2 really good finishes. I think the MK Dons one was a bit of bundling, but they all count. And let's hope it continues. I think he's going to be a really important player for us and turn out to be a fantastic signing. And I think we're laughing that we gave them Piggott. Really, I know he's having I think they do like him there, but he definitely wasn't a player that I liked here. So to get Harness for Piggott, I mean, I'm delighted with that.
Yeah, I don't think we know how we pulled that off. I think that's just daylight robbery. And also as well, who needs Selena when you got Harness?
Exactly.
Well, come on, get over them, Town fans. That's all I'm gonna say. I know I'm a Town fan myself, but I will say this: Just get over him. Got harness now. Stop moaning. Got harness. Come on. Well, one player that Town fans won't be moaning at all, and we now will talk about him. He's now going to get the credit he deserves. The League One Team of the Week won't give him the credit he deserves. So we are going to give him the credit he deserves. It is Christian Walton because, again, Dan, absolutely again, on a consistent basis, he is there. We have to thank him so much because he's kept Town in these games. Once again, he produced some very big saves, straight away. He made a double save. A lot of people said that, I think, was it like come off the bar? No, he actually saved that. It was him. He did a double save, and then he just kept Town in the game with denying so many one-on-one chances in the first half and the second half. But without him, Dan, Town would be in a world of trouble. Can we be honest here? Because this game here we would probably left us with no points and a 5-1 loss instead of a 1-0 win. Back to Suffolk with 3 points and still top of the table.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's incredible, and he definitely deserves the praise. That team of the week, I couldn't believe it. I think the Bristol Rovers goalkeeper got it when they lost 3-0, which was a bit of a surprise, but he definitely deserves that. And he won us the game. Some of those saves he made, as you say, in the first minute, that the save he made, that I was pretty sure it hit the bar from when I was watching it. It definitely looked like it hit the bar, but somehow he kept it out. And of course, the save with his foot as well, that he made from that Wolverhampton back pass. He has saved us a lot since he's joined, and I mean, hopefully it will continue. I mean, you think, when was the last time we had a keeper like that? Bialkowski. I don't know if I dare to say it, but I am liking him as much as Bialkowski right now. I think he's just, you feel so safe as when he's in goal. And I think I said it last week. We did talk about him a little last week. I think he just, he's so confident in goal and his distribution as well. A lot of the times he had the ball at his feet. We like to play at the back, of course, but he was pinging balls left and right. He managed to pick out, I think it was Jackson on the right hand side, or maybe it was Donatian on the right hand side with a ball over the top, just over the defender. Somehow got to him. Perfect passing. I mean, he can do everything. It seems he can come out and collect the ball, and it is so good to have a keeper like him. He is going to be massive for us, and I think to get him on that permanent deal in January was massive. And I love him, George. I really do. I think he's an incredible goalkeeper, and we're lucky to have him in this league. Let's hope no one's looking at him, because if he keeps up these performances, let's just say don't put him in team of the week, because then he can quietly be amazing and no one will pay attention.
Yep, that is true. Everybody just ignore him. He's ours.
Yeah.
Leave him alone.
Yeah.
Leave him alone. Well, that is all for Town this week. We're having against Burton, but we do have one more thing to do, and that is the preview for the next game, which is away to Shrewsbury, or Strawberries, as it were known quite a few years ago. But Town, they're on the road once again after Tuesday's night win over Burton Albion, which they made it 3 wins in a row and retain top spot in the process. But Town, the hosts are Shrewsbury Town, who've had a very mixed start to the season. 5 points from the first 4 games, leaving them in 16th place. But in the last 2 games, they picked up a win over Wickham and also a draw versus Derby. And we all know they are 2 teams that are chasing for promotion this season. But Dan, Ipswich Town are on a roll at the moment. They're on fire. They're looking to make it 4 wins in a row, which is unheard of. If they make it 4 wins in a row, I think the whole of Ipswich Town might just explode, because 4 wins is absolutely crazy. But they're playing Shrewsbury, who have shown they can make it tough for these teams that are chasing for promotion, we think, this season.
Yeah, I mean, so far they've definitely shown that. So it's going to be a really tough game. I think Shrewsbury, when you look at their team and the players they've got some decent League One players in there, and I think there were some people's dark horses for playoffs this year. So they've proven that they can, play well against the teams that are going to theoretically be up the top in Wycombe, and Derby. Wycombe, of course, haven't had a great start. So it's going to be a really tough one. But of course, it's going to be another different game, a different type of game to what we had on Tuesday. And I'm sure McKenna, has done the research into that and knows how to play against them. So again, I'm confident going into this one, and I don't think you can really predict anything but an Ipswich win at the moment. So it's going to be a tight one, and I think there may be some goals, and I think it's going to be maybe one goal in it. And I'm going to go for a 2-1 to Town, and hopefully 4 wins in a row. That'll be absolutely amazing.
Yes, that's good to hear. This Town is going for a Town win this time out against Shrewsbury. Let us know what your score prediction will be. Let us know on Twitter at Pitchside Talk. And that is all for your It's the Town section this week. And when we come back, we'll be talking about the Premier League and what went on in game week number 2. So don't go anywhere.
Pitchside Talk, footy debate from the Premier League Outback.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on iRadio Fridays at 5 p.m. with your host always George, joined by my co-host as well as always. It is Dan for another week of football action here on Pitchside Talk. And now before we move on talking about the Premier League game week number 2, we better mention our social media. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram's at Talk_PitchUsium. It's kind of both at Pitchside Talk. And if you missed anything from today's show, do not worry. At 6 p.m. on YouTube Mixcloud, this will be up for you to have a listen back to whenever you want to. If you want us to talk about Ipswich Town and what happened in their league double bill this week. So now the Premier League game week number 2 is here for the new season for the 22/23 campaign. And after last week's brilliant return of the Premier League, where we saw lots of goals, lots of drama, and lots of action, what we love to see in the Premier League, it was time for game week number 2. And it kicked off with a 2-1 win for Aston Villa at Villa Park, which saw Everton side make a late surge back, but it wasn't enough as Villa got all 3 points. Arsenal continued their unbeaten start to the season with a 4-2 win over Leicester, leaving Leicester in a little bit of trouble. Brighton and Newcastle played out for a 0-0 draw because of Nick Pope, that weird tweet thing that happened on Twitter. I have no clue what happened, Dan. I don't know if you can explain a bit more to me, but why were people just tweeting Nick Pope? Can we clear this up? Do you know?
Unfortunately, I don't.
Oh, fair enough.
Sorry, I don't understand what it was about. No.
Nobody knows.
Yeah, all I know is Ipswich tweeted when he played for us when he was younger.
Fair enough. Nobody will know. Nobody will know. Man City got their first win at the Etihad this season with a 4-0 thrashing over Bournemouth. Southampton fought back to get a 2-2 draw against Leeds. Wolves and Fulham played out for a 0-0 draw at Molineux as well. And Brentford beat Manchester United 4-0. Yes, you heard that correct. 4-0 with 4 goals in the first 35 minutes for the Bees. And then for Sunday, Nottingham Forest marked their return to the Premier League 23 years away with a 1-0 win over West Ham. Chelsea and Tottenham played out for a 2-2 draw at the Battle of the Bridge, which saw a very heated exchange with the managers on the touchline, which we'll get onto a little bit later. And also for the first game of Monday Night Football between Liverpool and Crystal Palace, that played out in a 1-1 draw, where we saw somebody get a little bit of red mist and decide to reenact what Zinedine Zidane did all those years ago in the 2006 World Cup in Germany. But Dan, we will start off first with Brentford versus Manchester United. The Bees leaving a big sting in Ten Hag and his Manchester United side. 4 goals in the first 35 minutes for Brentford. Whoa, that escalated very quickly. My phone was going off. May I say, when I was having my food after the Ipswich Town game, my phone was going off. It could not stop because Manchester United were losing 4-0 and the goals were flying in. But what absolutely happened? But before we talk about Manchester United, we must give credit to Brentford here, because that was a stunning performance by them. That first half performance was out of this world for them. 4 goals in 35 minutes. That is unheard of against a team like Manchester United. And to absolutely humiliate them as well. You know, it just shows that Brentford are really good. And people have been doubting them because they have lost they lost Christian Eriksen over the summer. A lot of people were saying, will the second season syndrome kick in? We've seen it quite a few times. We've seen it with Sheffield United, a very prime example, a team that come in with a lot of fresher breath air, like Brentford have done, then failed the next season. But Brentford here, it just looks so good. And their approach as well, it's a well-run organisation, shall we say.
Yeah, it is. Don't go and look at my or don't go and listen back to my Premier League predictions, please. But yeah, fantastic for Brentford. I mean, what a performance. They've got a fantastic manager in Thomas Frank. They've had a decent season last year. They've made that stadium a really tough place to go and play, haven't they? And it's really good to see a club like that reach the top, in quite a short amount of time. Not that long ago they were in down in League Two, so it's great to see a club like that rise up the ranks. And what a performance it was against Manchester United. Obviously, Man United have their problems, but you don't want to take away from the facts that Brentford was so good. I think that's kind of been overlooked by the story of Manchester United. Their attacking play was brilliant. Their pressing against the Manchester United defence was fantastic, and they're on it for the full 90. So massive credit for them. And do I say now that I regret putting them in my bottom three? Maybe I do.
Maybe you do at the moment because they are in third place in the Premier League.
Yeah.
It's a long way away from 18th, I think we can say.
It is.
But a lot can change. A lot can change. We must remember it's a long way to go. But everything that Brentford did, Manchester United did that. But even worse, this is the first time that Manchester United have lost their first 2 league opening games in over 100 years. Yes, 100 years ago, they lost their first 2 league games. And Erik ten Hag has reunited that stat. And unfortunately, he's now been attached to that stat, actually, I should have said. But Dan, it just goes from bad to worse for Manchester United. It was a performance of what has happened. The first goal, that shouldn't have gone in. De Gea should have saved that. The second goal, that should have... It was inevitable that Brentford were going to press them, and Manchester United fell into the trap of playing it short, losing the ball, and the ball goes in the back of the net. The corner that could have been easily dealt with somebody actually marking the back post. And I know it sounds bad, but Martinez maybe isn't the defender that they are looking for. Maybe just a little bit too short. Ben Mee just towering over him, and in that fourth goal, the perfect counter-attacking goal just to catch Manchester United off unawares and to make it 4-0. But there's a lot of change that needs at Manchester United. And I think this game just highlights here that they need a massive reset from realistically top to bottom, which was highlighted last year by Ralph Rangnick, and nobody listened to him.
No, they didn't. And I mean, it doesn't feel like it's going to change, does it, for Man United? They were absolutely awful. I mean, the first half was... I don't think the players could really believe what was going on. I don't think anyone could. They was just in shock, really. And you thought at half-time maybe Ten Hag could get the players together and they could come out and try and get some goals back. But they were equally as poor in the second half as well. Brentford played against them easily. So there's so much change needs to go ahead at Manchester United. But unfortunately for them fans, it just doesn't seem like there's going to be. And you look at the players that they're linked with in this transfer window as well. It just doesn't feel like a Manchester United that everyone knows. With some of the players they want to get in, it's going to be difficult for Ten Hag, of course. He's got a massive task on his hands. He needs to get these players back together because there's just such a disconnect, it seems, with the players. The defense looks awful. The defense looks, really, really poor. I think, as you say, Martinez, he's too short to be a centre back, and Maguire is just not my cup of tea, and I don't think he's anyone's really. So it just showed that really against Brentford, who capitalised on that. And then you've got players who are like Ronaldo, who he starts against Brentford, but he doesn't really want to be there, does he? So there's such a
No.
disconnect between everyone at that club, and there needs to be a change. I think there's some rumours that uh, people are looking to buy, but it doesn't look like the Glazers are going to sell, really, does it? So it starts from the Glazers, of course. That's who the fans are angry with the most out of everyone. But that doesn't excuse the performance against Brentford, does it? Because it was really, really poor, and they have so much work to do.
They do have so much work to do. But actually, an interesting thing for you, right? So in the game versus Brighton, Christian Eriksen started as a false nine.
Mm.
But in this game here against Brentford, he started as a CDM. Work that
Yeah.
one out for you. For you. That's your little brain teaser for today. How did that happen? He went from a false nine to a CDM. Yeah, I'll let you figure that one out. But when we had that game, we thought, wow, that's an interesting, intense game. But we got one that was up one more better. The Battle of the Bridge, Chelsea versus Spurs. And that game was dramatic as anything as it ended 2-2 between the two sides, thanks to Harry Kane's late header. Which sort of go into the back of the net, getting earning Spurs a point in the 96th minute. But all the drama was happening off the pitch, on the touchlines, as Antonio Conte and Thomas Tuchel clashed twice. The first one during the second half when Chelsea, when Spurs equalised. Sorry, thanks to Patrick Højbjerg. They both clashed, and both managers were booked. And then at the end of the game, on the formal handshakes, it all kicked off again, and both managers were sent off. But Dan, what a game we had! This game here highlighted the Premier League in a nutshell on its 30th birthday weekend as well. It just highlighted everything special about the Premier League, the rivalries, the drama, the fights that unfortunately do happen. But this showed why we need, I know it sounds bad, we need a little bit more like this on the touchlines, because this made the game so great. It made it a Battle of the Bridge 2.0. Remember that last time, Battle of the Bridge, that was famous nickname when Spurs bottled the league there and Leicester won it not so long ago, the league. This highlighted here why this game is so special, and just sort of the two sides as well.
Yeah, it was, let's say, an emotional game, wasn't it? Really, for a lot of. I mean, yeah, it was a fantastic game, and really showed how the Premier League in a good light. And it's the I guess the altercation between the managers, and I guess the tension between them two made it a much more exciting game as well. I think you're right. Well, maybe you don't want to see that too often, but I think that emotionally charged, it makes it more exciting, and I think the players are then up for it more as well. So yeah, it was a really good game to watch, and a share of the spoils, a header from Kane in the last minute to get a draw, was probably a fair result in the end. So it was. I mean, at the end when Tuchel kind of just held up, grabbed Conte's hand and kept grabbing on. I was watching that thinking, what the hell is he doing? But yeah, it made good watching, that's for sure. It was entertainment. And yeah, I mean, there was controversy in the game, so you can understand why the two managers were so up for it. And yeah, I think it was definitely entertaining and good to watch, and definitely showed what the Premier League is. How people are so passionate about this league.
It does as well. I think we had to start a petition here that this game here can only be played during a heat wave.
Yeah,
because I think
probably,
yeah. I think that's what makes it a lot more better. And now we have the first game on Monday Night Football. After that dramatic 2 games we've had, we had the first game of Monday Night Football between Liverpool and Crystal Palace, which ended in a 1-1 draw between Palace and Liverpool. But the game was realistically overshadowed by some red mist. Liverpool's brand new signing, Darwin Núñez, was shown a red card for a moment of madness when he turned around and headbutted Janssen Anderson, who had been winding him up the whole game. And then he kicked off and, well, it's basically forced off the pitch. But Dan, this moment here, this crazy moment of the headbutt has really overshadowed the whole thing, because it overshadows how good Palace were on the night. They're resilient against Liverpool. We know how tough it is to go to Anfield just to get a point, and against that attack as well. It shows that. And also as well, Liverpool's poor start to the season, well, only 2 points in the first 2 games as well, and had to fight back to get that point against Palace. They got that goal when they were 10 men down. But what's happened here with Núñez is absolutely crazy, can we just say? Headbutting somebody. What is going on?
It is, yeah. It's absolutely crazy. I don't know what was going on. He lost his head, and I think the Anderson, the Palace centre back, he was clever all game. I think there was video I saw on social media that he was shoving Núñez around and winding him up a lot. He was definitely clever, and that all just came to a head in the end. And what was Núñez doing? Crazy scenes really. You can't be losing your cool like that. Even if the player is winding you up, you can't be losing the cool. You're losing your cool, and he definitely deserved that red card, and he's going to miss a very important next game for Liverpool. The big one. So that's a disappointment. But as you say, it kind of did overshadow how resilient Palace were. As you said, it's hard to go to Anfield and get anything. So massive hats off to Crystal Palace for getting a point there. And the difficult stuff for Liverpool continues. And I know it's this early in the season, but you don't want to be falling too far behind City. So it's going to be interesting to see what Klopp does to turn this around. I mean, they've got you'd say a fairly easy game going up now, bottom of the league. It seems like it's going to be a relegation battle game, doesn't it?
Big 6-pointer.
Yeah, relegation 6-pointer. But no, it's a big game and a chance to turn it around for Klopp and Liverpool.
Yes, as you did highlight there, it is a big game as well. And as you said, you don't want to be falling too far behind Man City. They're already 4 points behind Man City. And I think last season that was unheard of.
Yeah.
One time. But I will. That was all the results we had for game week number 2. But also here, I will read out the fixtures we have got for game week number 3. So we'll be starting off with Spurs versus Wolves on Saturday lunchtime, followed by then Palace versus Aston Villa, Everton at home to Nottingham Forest, Fulham then host Brentford, and then Southampton travel up to Leicester. And then for Saturday night football, we have Bournemouth versus Arsenal on the South Coast. And then for these games on Sunday, we have Leeds versus Chelsea, West Ham versus Brighton, and then Newcastle versus Manchester City. And then for Monday night football, we will have a Manchester United versus Liverpool. And that is going to be such a big game. As we said, it'll be a big 6-pointer, and it'll be interesting to see if there'll be any fans at Manchester United, because there is rumouredly going to be a massive walkout and a lot of fans might not turn up. But we'll have to wait and see. But Dan, that is all we've got time for the show this week. The referee's about to blow his whistle now for full time. We've had too much extra time. He ain't going to give us any more. VAR doesn't like us these days. It's a little bit broken sometimes. But will I see you next week, mate? Where we'll be talking all things Ipswich Town and all things football as always.
Yeah, I'll be there. Hopefully some more drama. That would be nice.
Oh, we love a bit of drama on this show. So before we go, I better mention the social media. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk, Instagram's at Talk, and Pitch, YouTube, Mixcloud are both at Pitchside Talk. And if you missed anything from today's show, do not worry. It'll be up all on YouTube and Mixcloud for you in the next few minutes. So I've been George, he has been Dan. As always, we'll see you next week, and ciao.
Bye.
The whistle has been blown for full time. Tune in next week for another jam-packed show.